Hi, I'm Robin Waite, author of Online Business Startup, and this morning I'm going to be giving you my tips about how to set customer expectations post launching your website. So the first thing to do, I'd thoroughly recommend is get Google Analytics installed on your website. It's a free statistical tool which Google provides. They've spent hundreds of millions of dollars developing this tool. And it will start to give you a bit of information about how your site is performing and how your customers are interacting with your website. And it can give you some very granular data about what search keywords people are using when they land on your website, for example, how long your customers are staying on the website, which pages they land on, which pages they leave from. A major part of having a website isn't just about getting the website live and it's just going to drive loads of traffic and inquiries to your site. It's a very organic process and it goes through several stages, or it's going through a continual phase of kind of improvement. So what you want to do is regularly, so quarterly or every 6 months, go and have a look at your Google Analytics and just see how people are interacting with your site. It might be that customers are getting to the contact form, but you haven't had any inquiries for several months. So it might be that lots of customers are getting to the contact form, but there's a bug in it and it's simply not sending those inquiries through to you. Google Analytics is a very quick way of seeing where your site's failing and how you might potentially be able to improve it. My second tip is just check with your web developer whether they've got a site launch checklist which they work from. There is one in my book which you can get a copy of, or you're welcome to email me and I'll send you a copy of our site launch checklist. But this is when the site goes live, we run the site through a whole gamut of testing tools. We check whether Analytics is installed, we check whether Webmaster Tools is installed, we check whether the website is responsive so far as Google is concerned, whether it meets all of the latest in terms of web standards compliance, whether the code is valid, whether the website is accessible, whether the contact form works, and check all of the different individual pages on the website. So we go through this, it's about 2 or 3 pages long, it's a very thorough checklist, but it just means that the moment the site goes live, we're then confident we're going to pick up any problems with it immediately. It's very unlikely you're going to launch a website and it's going to be perfect first time around. So, but at the very least, if there are problems on your site, using a checklist means that you can just run through it, find any problems and fix them immediately. And to be fair, it is quite normal for bugs to appear once the site is live. You'd be surprised the amount of clients we've had who've come back really angry because something's not working or something's not quite where they expected it. And these are probably normally quite tiny, trivial little things that can be fixed really, really quickly. But to the customer, to the business owner, these things are really, really important. So I'd ask any web designers, developers who are watching this to just bear that in mind and be very conscious of the fact that of that level of importance to your clients. Also, I would, and this is something you probably should have done before you enter into a contract with your web designer, but ask your web developer for a copy of their service level agreement. So the service level agreement typically outlines, it's the level of support and service that you're going to get. But one example is, in our industry, we use 3, 4 or 5 nines as a way of gauging what service level support we're going to give to our clients. So just as an example, so 3 nines is a 99.9% uptime guarantee, and that's probably the most common SLA across the board for our industry. What that means is that there is potential for up to 8.76 hours downtime per year, 43.8 minutes downtime per month and 10 minutes downtime per day. Now 10 minutes a day sounds like it's quite a lot, but typically what might be happening is that the server which your website is running on might require security updates or patches to be run. Now your tech support guys are going to be doing that at 2 o'clock in the morning, so it's unlikely it'll impact many or any of your customers at all. And typically that up to 10 minutes, it can take up to 5 or 10 minutes for a server to reboot and for everything to come back online. Most security patches, especially on Windows-based servers, require a reboot. And then you go up to 5 nines, so which is a 99.999% uptime guarantee, which allows for 5.2 minutes downtime per year, which equates to only 6 seconds downtime per day, which means that they might be doing batches of updates on a monthly or on a monthly basis, for example, to minimize any downtime. And this might be if your website is, if you're getting sort of thousands of visitors a day, then those doing a daily update could have a significant impact on your business. So a 10-minute downtime could equate to lost sales potentially, or lost custom. But it's key to remember that your website will experience some downtime at some point. Now, typically, again, you have to be very conscious as a web designer that this affects your customer's business. But equally, it's also, these things are necessary sometimes for a server to be rebooted, or not necessarily for there to be a problem, but for a security patch to be applied and the server to be rebooted. So typically this should happen out of normal kind of office hours, but your web designer should make sure that A, you're given notice up front when these are going to happen, and B, that it happens at the time when it's going to have least impact on your business. And generally, cloud-based solutions have the best form of resilience, because a cloud-based website will be hosted on a number of different servers, which might be having updates at different times. So actually you experience no downtime at all. It can become quite expensive if you look at the likes of kind of Microsoft Azure or Amazon Web Services. But if you're looking for a certain level of resilience so that your website is just up all the time, if you've got tens of thousands of visitors traveling to your site every month, then you want to go for a cloud-based solution such as Azure or AWS. Finally, I just also look at something called a content distribution network. So what a content distribution network does is it caches or stores static files like images and JavaScript files and style sheets across a number of different servers throughout the world, so that when a page on your website is called, it chooses the nearest server to wherever the user is accessing your website to download those static resources. So first and foremost, it takes the load off your own server or wherever your website is hosted. And secondly, it just improves the experience for the end user. Thirdly, also it helps to prevent, they have like an infrastructure, a layer of security which sits between the user and your website hosting platform to prevent things like denial of service attacks and people trying to hack into your website. So CDNs are really, really important to make sure that your site performance is as optimal as it possibly can be. So just to summarize those 4 key points, make sure that when your site goes live, you've got Google Analytics installed. Make sure that your web designer has a site launch checklist, which they refer to for every single site, and that you can solve any problems immediately the moment your site goes live. Ask your web designer for a copy of their service level agreement and make sure you understand what you're getting in terms of support. And finally, make sure that you are running your site over a content distribution network, a CDN, to get the best out of your site performance. So thanks once again for watching the video. I hope you found some of the tips helpful, and if you've got any questions, then please do leave some comments in the boxes below the video. If you want to be informed about any future videos which I upload, then please click here to subscribe. And then finally, if you haven't already, head on over to Amazon using this button just here to buy the book Online Business Startup. Thanks for watching. I'm Waite.